Imagine waking up in the year 2035. The global landscape, as we know it right now, it's completely transformed. And it's being driven by tectonic shifts from two massive nations. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dive deep into the forces actually driving that change. We aren't just looking at abstract theories today, right? We're digging into the hard data and the current trajectories that are literally shaping our world.
So by 2035, will the USA remain the global leader, or will India become the next superpower? That's the ultimate question we're answering today. By looking at the established might of the United States and the explosive momentum of India, we're going to see exactly how these two nations are forging the future of technology, the global economy, defense, and international influence. The stakes couldn't be higher, and honestly, the path to 2035 is anything but predictable.
To do this, we're looking at a 5-part scorecard today. First, the 2035 superpower question. Second, economy and the AI race. Third, military and global influence. Fourth, the demographic divide. And finally, number 5, a multipolar future. Let's get right into it.
Starting with Section 1, the 2035 superpower question. We are literally watching a historic transition unfold right in front of us. On one side of the scale, you've got the US, which has held the global leadership mantle for decades. It's the established heavyweight, right? It has deeply entrenched institutional and financial dominance. But then, on the other side, India is rising at a pace that is frankly just staggering to observe. Having recently crossed that massive 1.4 billion population mark, it's combining all that human capital with an economy that's shifting into high gear. So this isn't just a basic comparison, it's a classic matchup of absolute current establishment versus incredible, unbridled momentum.
Moving on to Section 2, Economy and the AI Race. The crucial point here is the massive contrast in where these two economies actually draw their strength from. The United States boasts the world's largest economy, anchored by those multi-trillion-dollar valuations in Silicon Valley, an unrivaled financial sector in New York, and a super-advanced healthcare industry. They absolutely hold the high ground in wealth generation today. But India is currently one of the fastest-growing major economies on the planet. I mean, they're experiencing an explosion in consumer market spending and a manufacturing boom that's completely rewriting global supply chains. So while the USA holds undeniable financial strength right now, the sheer math of India's growth trajectory presents a really formidable challenge for the future.
And when we talk about tech, well, we have to talk about AI. It's the undisputed kingmaker of the future. Now, the US currently leads this pack by a pretty wide margin. We're talking about foundational AI research taking place at institutions and tech giants that simply don't have peers anywhere else yet. They design the most advanced silicon chips, they own the massive data centers required to train these models, and they have the biggest corporate players funneling billions into the infrastructure of tomorrow. It is a massive, multi-decade head start.
But here's where India counters in a massive way. They're mobilizing a literal army of human capital, graduating roughly 1.5 million engineers every single year. You combine that immense talent pool with a deeply established IT sector and a rapidly booming startup ecosystem in tech hubs like Bangalore, and you've got a total powerhouse of execution. So India might not be inventing every single foundational model right now, but the sheer volume of brainpower they're pouring into technology makes them a dominant force in how tech will actually be scaled, built, and implemented globally in the coming decades.
Because honestly, who cares if you have the smartest AI locked away in a laboratory if you can't integrate it into your local hospitals or schools? Ultimately, this tech race isn't just about who invents the technology, but who applies it most effectively. The real power will belong to the nation that can successfully weave these advancements into their everyday industries, their educational systems, and their national security to drive unprecedented efficiency.
All right, let's head into Section 3, Military and Global Influence. You see, economic power eventually translates into hard defense capabilities, and that creates a really fascinating narrative of modernization versus established supremacy. The US maintains a highly significant edge today. They've got the world's most advanced military technology, massive global carrier strike groups, and a presence on almost every continent. They project power effortlessly. India, on the other hand, already has one of the world's largest standing armies, and they're intensely focused on indigenizing their defense sector right now, basically moving away from imports to aggressively ramp up their domestic defense manufacturing. They are transforming from a massive defensive force into a modern, self-reliant military power.
But it's not just about who has the biggest ships or the fastest jets, right? It's about who has the currency everyone wants to hold and the universities everyone wants to attend. This is where the US exerts massive global influence through soft power. The US dollar is the backbone of global trade. They maintain deep, historic military alliances like NATO. Plus, their prestigious universities attract the absolute brightest minds globally.
And American culture, from Hollywood to music, well, it's exported to every corner of the earth.
India, though, is playing a totally different game here. Their influence is steadily expanding by leveraging highly active, strategic diplomacy, often balancing relationships brilliantly between the East and the West. They're establishing new trade corridors, maximizing the massive influence of their global diaspora, and projecting a growing, highly respected voice in international organizations as a real leader of the global South. The world is watching very closely as India carves out its own, uniquely independent path of global influence.
This brings us to Section 4, the demographic divide.
Let's dig into arguably the most foundational difference between these two nations: human resources. India possesses a massive young workforce, with hundreds of millions of people ready to enter the prime of their careers, and this presents a monumental economic advantage. I mean, a growing, youthful population means a massive, eager tax base, a staggering explosion in domestic consumer spending, and an unparalleled cycle of innovation. If they utilize this correctly through education and job creation, this demographic dividend is truly India's biggest strength.
Now, the U.S., by comparison, has an aging and a much smaller population. So how do they counter this sheer scale? Well, through incredibly high worker productivity, driven by advanced automation, consistent technological innovation, and crucially, a historic, unmatched ability to attract top global talent. The U.S. has always been a magnet for the best brains from the rest of the world. Ultimately, the nation that wins this demographic divide will be the one that creates the most dynamic, thriving environment for its people to succeed.
And that leads us to our final part, Section 5, a multipolar future.
Look, neither of these giants has a flawless path forward to 2035. The vulnerabilities are stark, but they're very different. The United States is currently wrestling with intense internal political division, steadily rising national debt, and fierce economic competition from allied and adversarial nations alike. Meanwhile, India is staring down the barrel of massive developing world hurdles. They need rapid, large-scale infrastructure development, ports, roads, power grids, alongside drastically improving education quality. Plus, there's the incredibly daunting task of creating millions of new jobs every single month just to keep pace with that booming youth population we just talked about. But as the source material for this explainer puts it perfectly, by 2035, the world may not have only one superpower. It may be shaped by cooperation and competition between multiple powerful nations. The reality is, the USA and India are potential partners just as much as they are competitors. The USA brings immense wealth, established tech, and global military might. India brings staggering growth, demographic power, and vast future potential. It's really not a zero-sum game, but rather the foundation of a multipolar world.
The true winners in the coming decades will simply be the nations that can best educate their citizens, innovate constantly, and adapt to a rapidly shifting globe. It isn't just about landmass, raw GDP, or population size anymore. It's about agility. It's about how quickly a society can pivot, learn, and implement new technologies, all while keeping its citizens upwardly mobile.
So I'll leave you with this question to consider. As we approach 2035 and these two titans collide, cooperate, and completely reshape the global order, how will the balance of competition and cooperation between the USA and India shape your future? Where will your industry, your career, and your life fit into a world influenced by two distinct superpowers?